He's in a Starfleet uniform, looking dapper, I might say. Then again, who doesn't in a Starfleet uniform, am I right? Wait a minute, we can't have deja vu with ourselves. Fly around that ship! Didn't know an entire ship could be one big changeling. I don't know if you noticed this, but we're halfway through Picard Season 3. I know, right? Where'd the time go? You know? I guess it's true what they say. Time flies when you're having fun. And this season that is pretty fun. Admittedly, I turned on this episode excited to see what was going to happen. You know, I don't want it to end. I guess that's a good thing. Why look a gift horse in the mouth? If you understand that turn of phrase. This is Picard Season 3, Episode 5. Dead Center. Imposters. What an imaginative title. We ended last episode with the revelation that changelings were aboard the Titan. Changelings were indeed, at that time anyway, seemed like the primary villain for this season. Maybe they're not at the end. Who knows? Anything can happen. But changelings are here, and what do changelings do? Well, they become imposters. They pretend to be people they're not. At least these ones anyway. Ones that have splintered off from the Great Link, as it were, following the end of the Dominion War. For those of you who watched Deep Space Nine, you'll understand what that means. For those of you who didn't, you'll be watching this just as a sequel season to TNG that happens to involve some things from Deep Space Nine that you probably don't understand. Which I guess is fine. You know, we're casting a wide net here. This is indeed a Star Trek season with a big tent, as it were. This episode is again a continuation of the previous episode. It is plenty exciting, but also plenty derivative. Exciting isn't everything. Jumping off a building is probably pretty exciting. I mean, the conclusion will, kill you. But the journey was fun. Where is this season going? Is it going to wrap up nicely? We're in the middle. Now is the point in time where I can start kind of coming up with theories. What do they call it? Theory crafting. I hope I don't guess it. I know that. There's nothing fun, really, in accidentally guessing the ending. People who theorize sometimes accidentally get it right. And that's not a lot of fun. So, with that out of the way, let's see what's going on in Imposters. Middle of the season. 10-episode seasons. We're already in the middle. It feels like it was only yesterday I just started watching. I love the intro to this episode. This episode starts awesome. It's just such a classic Star Trek intro. We have a voiceover from Captain Riker, Captain at this time, saying, "Hey, everything's A-okay. A lot of bad stuff happened, but hey, we kind of got out of it. Not unscathed, but we did it. Here's your little update," with your classic Trek music in the background. Every fiber of my being just wanted to say, let's take the Titan and just go somewhere. Screw the rules. Let's just go take the Titan, and we're gonna have Star Trek Titan from here on out. I don't care about the changelings. I don't care about what's going on with Starfleet. Let's just take the Titan. Let's just go. Let's just keep this show going just like this. Leave Riker the captain. Who cares? If only. But we can't do that because, listen, we're facing the music. We just did a lot of bad stuff. We commandeered the Titan under false pretenses in order to rescue Beverly Crusher and her son on a whim. Talk about wild goose chase. And we did indeed almost die. If there was ever a time for a briefing in the rec room, I think it's now. Watch Star Trek the Motion Picture. We brief everybody on the Enterprise in the rec room about what's going on in person, formally, with that personal touch. That's important. We need that now. Imagine being on the Titan. Seriously, just imagine. Wow. I have no idea what's going on anymore. Where are we? I'm scared. Somebody hold me. I think I need a briefing. Yeah, you do. So Shaw is going to let 7 of 9, Riker and Picard, have some alone time together to get their story straight. Knock on wood. Okay, guys. This is where Shaw went from serious and uh, serious professional to funny, tongue-in-cheek uh, levity. You know, he has the delight of knowing he's in the right, they're in the wrong, and Starfleet's coming. You may read this as a Shaw being an idiot or a bully of some kind. I didn't. I read it as a fun joke that he earned. Like, we earned the right to have Shaw just kind of in the turbo lift, waiting for Starfleet to come. I already called them. Ha ha ha. You know, just maliciously complying with the rules. You know, in that way, it was so funny. I mean, people can read it a different way, but I read it as kind of the levity you get with the crew that you've been through almost certain death with. You know, it bonds people in a way that's hard to explain. It goes beyond logic. It goes beyond reason. When you've gone through the crucible with people and you came out the other end alive, we're brothers now. Like Shaw, Picard, Riker, we don't have to like it, but we're family now, okay? And so we can poke fun now, right? We get a little bit of honest ribbing here and there. I wonder if they're going to remember that time you guys hot dropped the saucer section on that planet in Star Trek Generations. Remember that movie? Or what happened in Star Trek Insurrection? Or what happened in Star Trek TNG All Good Things? Remember Picard, Riker, the last episode of Star Trek The Next Generation? What's Star Trek The Next Generation? Picard would say, oh, whoops, I was accidentally talking about those movies. Yeah, Shaw didn't mention the movies. He just mentioned the things that happened in those movies. Classified or forgotten or not, he seemed to remember them. Kind of like he just watched them. Listen, the Intrepid arrives, okay? And the Starfleet ship sent to what I expected would happen. Remove everyone from the Titan, transfer them off. Basically, we're just going to have to mothball the Titan for a while, basically. Intrepid is a ship that's sent to do that. Don't get too excited. It's not Intrepid class. When a ship is the first of its kind, its class is named after that ship's name. So the Intrepid class, the first ship of that class, would have had to have been the U.S.S. Intrepid. Now, you may have noticed this ship does not look like the Intrepid. Or the Intrepid class, I should say. There has been, I think canonically, there has been a Constitution class Intrepid. I think there's been an Excelsior class Intrepid. And it just doesn't, like, previous errors does not an excuse make. So I would have rather this not be called the Intrepid. But there's grounds for any random ship being called the Intrepid. I don't know. I don't feel like being too mad about it. But I would have rather this ship be called something else. It's Duderstadt class, I believe, canonically, this ship, and it's hella ugly. Let me tell you. From the top, it looks great. From the front, it looks great. From the side, it's horrific. Saucer, though, very nice. Saucer is pretty mint, I must say. I would have rather the Titan have that saucer instead of ancient Constitution class refit style saucer. Why is that on the Titan when we have perfectly good? I mean, the Intrepid saucer. What's wrong with it? It looks fantastic. Should have had that in the Titan, maybe. And a different secondary hull. And different nacelle pylons. And different nacelles. And a different bridge. But this is the Intrepid. And we're dealing with what we got. The Intrepid curiously sends over a shuttle. Why are they sending a shuttle? For our debriefing and our probable court-martial of Picard and Riker. I wonder. Well, who's on board this shuttle? It's Ro Laren. If you watch TNG, the later seasons, Ro Laren is a character that shows up right at the end. You know, I'm not going to call it a loose end, but we'll call it maybe a frayed edge of TNG. This character was always at odds with the other characters. They were a member of the Maquis. At that time, for those who don't know, they were a terrorist organization, considered so by the Federation, whose goals did not align with that of Starfleet and the Federation. You see travelers on the same path, similar goals, different way of doing things. She was a Maquis, Ro-Laren, one of these quote-unquote terrorist members, without getting too far into TNG. She defected. She defected back to her original family, as it were, her Maquis brethren. Leaving Picard in the lurch, shedding a negative light on Starfleet, shedding a negative light on the Federation, and most of all, breaking Picard's heart. You broke his heart. I mean, you can do whatever you want to the Federation, but you cross Picard, you break his heart, you're breaking my heart too. No, I'm just joking. That's a little bit crazy. That would be a little bit too overly romantic, wouldn't it? To say broke my heart, wouldn't it? Suffice to say, Ro-Laren is commando mode. Been through Star Trek rehabilitation. I'm totally Starfleet now, baby. How did you claw your way back up into the ranks of Starfleet? You're a terrorist. You sided with the terrorists. You sided with the enemy. You're a traitor. Traitors are bad. You can't have them around. But I guess Starfleet's rehab program is all it's cracked up to be, I guess, because she looks totally Starfleet to me. Curious if Picard would still hold this grudge, because he seems very angry. It seems like this episode with Ro-Laren in TNG happened yesterday. Actually, it was 30 years ago. And convenient that much time has gone by and the characters look that much older. Only Picard is a robot now. Maybe we shouldn't have just brought that up. Is there any way we could just forget that? I don't want that Picard robot around. No more robot. Picard is a robot that is just as weak as a human and will die when he would have otherwise died. Man, wasn't season 1 great? Wasn't that cool? Anyway, we need to prove we're not a changeling. We know we have changeling problems. Ro cuts her hand. Look, I'm not a changeling. See? Wing! Not a changeling. Picard. You better get over here. We discovered something about the changeling. Except it was disguised as, we have urgent medical news for you, Picard. Beverly, I'm talking to Commander Ro. You can really feel the tension and the pretense here of everything. I had my spine tingling and my stomach rumbly. Beverly is looking at the dead changeling, and now we know why they die so strange. This is quote-unquote an evolution. You see, evolution means that they die easier and can be taken down 4 at a time. They can be killed easily, and they're not that much of a threat now. They seemed a lot more scary in Deep Space Nine, my opinion. But now they can also changeling-eyes their insides, so they're not just a surface detail changeling. You actually have to dissect them to tell they're a changeling. Is it an evolution? Is that like a subspecies? Is this just an example of extensive changeling training? Trainling? Listen, Beverly says, they could be anywhere, or anyone. And that was the exact moment I realized this episode's writing was not as good as what I had come to expect from this season. That's when I realized this writing was probably by a 14-year-old. Wow, really? I can almost complete the dialogue before it's done. It's one of a few actual cringe moments for me in this episode, that line. Not to mention the fact that we're just doing this again. We're doing it again, guys. Taking Deep Space Nine, putting in the microwave, warming it up, and reserving it again. We got sloppy leftovers. And not only that, we're having another plot where Starfleet is infiltrated from the inside and is fighting itself, just like we did in Discovery with Control, just like we did with the Living Construct and Prodigy. It just keeps happening. Starfleet's villain is always itself. In a manner of speaking, with a lot of extra steps, you know what I mean. But I am a little bit tired of it. I was more compelled when there was one changeling. I was more compelled when it was just Vedic. As simple as that felt, I worry now that without having the first arc, the first 4 episodes of this season, basically be going off the script of Wrath of Khan, now that we're off that script, we may lose our way. If you can't tell, I didn't love this episode that much. There's a lot to love, just not for me. We end up going back. This is a joke. This is comical. This is farce. We're taking the piss here. When they fired basically everybody working on Picard before, handed it off to Terry Matalas, they said, "Who wants to do this show?" Terry said, "I'll do it." And then they're like, "Here's $9 and a few coupons." What's this? That's your budget for season 3. We got the bar scene, and we got the planet Matalas scene. There you go, buddy. Make it work. We did it back in the day with really good writing. Can you save it with writing? Well, this episode would maybe say otherwise. However, we do end up back in the bar, just as Ro and Picard are going to examine the changeling body, the leftovers of that changeling. We end up going, "Hey, holodeck, now, pointing the phaser at you. Get in there." And of course, it's the bar again. It would have been so cool if last episode, when he was talking to his son, Picard that is, they went to 10 forward on the Enterprise, and then they left it on, and when they went back in here, it was Ro, Laren, and Picard on the Enterprise again, in 10 forward. That would have been so cool, man. We had a 10 forward set in season 1. How come we can't do it here? I just don't want to be in this bar anymore. I don't know why we keep going here. It's starting to irk me. It's starting to look cheap. It's starting to look like a discount Star Trek show. Are you trying to sell me a discount Star Trek show here? Be honest, guys. And I'll be the first to tell you that Star Trek doesn't need to be super expensive, but it also needs to be interesting, and this is not. We're back in here for another conversation between Picard and Ro, and let me tell you, this is where the bad old days creep in. The 2017-18 kind of Star Trek stuff, we're just kind of talking about our feelings. We have this nonsense conversation about how, admittedly, there's a point to it because we're sharing our pain, as Cybok would say, and in that way we're revealing who we truly are. See, we can't ask each other complex questions that only they should know, even though that's what we'd normally be doing. Actually, we're just having a conversation here about our feelings. Okay, you were my protege. I trained you to be like me. Oh, be like you? Oh, you have blind faith in Starfleet and blah, blah, and whatever. You broke my heart. It literally ends with, "You broke my heart. You broke mine." No. You did not break Picard's heart in TNG. No, I had the luxury, randomly, of having recently seen those few episodes of TNG, like, a little while ago. And it was just like, Picard's like, "Well, you've done something very wrong here. It reflects poorly on you. And the light that reflected onto you very poorly, you tried to deflect that onto me, Starfleet, and the rest, and we're not having it. And basically, you're gone, and I'm deleting you from my brain. You're dead." That's the impression I got. I mean, yeah, it's really bad to defect. It's really bad to betray Picard specifically. But this conversation sounds like it happened yesterday, and it sounds like two lovers. They weren't freaking in love. It sounds like, "You and I see you now, blah, blah, blah." Modern Trek writing, sneaking in. You see, it's a hallmark of modern writing and new Trek in general that we don't get to that point. Okay? It's all chaff. It's all so much fluff. Like, when Ro Laren first showed up to interrogate Picard, she probably just should have said, whispered into his ear, "Let's go into the holodeck now." Okay. And they go into the holodeck, lock the doors, turn on the music. "Are you a changeling?" how can I prove to you that I'm not a changeling? I'll cut my hand. Logical back and forth. There's just so much pretense to things now. There's so much hiding stuff. There's so much drama. There's so much taking the point, burying it under layers and layers and layers of mental complexes that we need to shed away. I don't know where this all came from, but at the very end, they come to terms with each other. I know you're Ro, and I know you're Picard. So what's up then? What's the sitch? Listen, I've been investigating these changelings for a while, and the conspiracy, not the conspiracy bugs, but the conspiracy of the changelings goes all the way up to the top, and we're totally compromised. And guess what? It has something to do with Frontier Day. All our ships, our entire fleet, they said this. Our entire fleet is going to be on display for Frontier Day. No, it ain't. I don't believe that for a second. You're not going to have thousands and thousands of ships in the same place for Frontier Day. That's dumb. That's harebrained. I hope that's not the case. I hope that's just a one-off line that I can just delete from my brain. They better not have the entire fleet on display. I don't want to see that. That makes no sense. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. But we're hot on the trail, and I don't trust the transporters either. Very interesting. What's going on with the transporters? If I was a changeling, I'd be using the transporters to replace people. Think of it. You go in the transporter, the person who comes out the other end ain't them, it's a changeling. Meanwhile, you're a changeling operating the transporter on the other end, and you transported the real person directly into space. Or, in this case, probably directly into the bulkhead. I knew the minute the Intrepid showed up, I had a feeling in my gut. That ship's all changelings. When you transfer those crew over that ship, they're dead. They are freaking dead. That was my first instinct. Maybe it's not true. I hope it's not. Body count's getting up there. I hope they're okay. We engage with the changeling crew on the Intrepid. We are also engaging with our own crew from the Titan because we just transported them over. Oops. Before Ro has a chance to leave, she gives Picard her Bajoran earring. At the very end, Riker says, "Hold on," and he puts that on the table. Old school spy tech, or spy trick or something. And the thing has a data chip in it that just reveals a new Trek wall of holograms that's annoying and semi-transparent that will make you go blind using it, which allows us to contact Worf. It turns out Worf's handler was Ro. Again with the breadcrumbs. Raffi, Starfleet Intelligence. Who's my handler? It was Worf. Who's Worf's handler? Who's Worf's handler? Ro. Oh my God, it's just layers upon layers upon layers. You know what? It's like an onion. Layers upon layers upon layers. And it tastes about as good as an onion. Which for you is probably bad. I love eating onions, but I'm using onion as an example because generally people don't like to just eat them raw, as I do. But onions have layers, and so does this story, and it's not always a good thing. It's not always a good thing when you just lead people along. For those wondering about where this came from, you can go watch the show Alias. Actually, on top of that, everybody should go watch the show Alias, Lost, and Firefly. I'm not saying I love those shows. I'm not even really saying they're good. Your mileage may vary. Go watch them, and you'll realize where all modern TV writing came from, especially in the sci-fi genre. The serialized sci-fi genre. It's all there, baby. We need to find this thing. Oh, it turns out it's this different thing. Oh, wait, it's this other thing. Oh, wait. And we just play a game of catch-up for the entire season. It's like a fetch quest, if you know what that means. Except it's a whodunit. Remember in Star Trek Discovery Season 4, the Get Back Here book plot? Right? Get back here, book. Book's gone. Where is he? We need to find him. That's like 4 or 5 episodes. In this, it's like, we need to find this guy. Oh, we need to find this other guy. Okay, we need to find this guy. Okay, we need to do this. Except it's all in the same place. It's all on that planet Metalis. Speaking of the B plot. Our A plot's over, but there's a side plot inside our A plot. Maybe we can call it an A.5 plot? A and a half? What's between A and B? Maybe this is B, and what's going on the planet is C, with Raffi and Worf. But our B plot, we'll say, involves Jack Crusher. Jack Crusher, in the opening of this episode, has a vision where he actually is openly killing bridge officers. He's in a Starfleet uniform, looking dapper, I might say. Then again, who doesn't in a Starfleet uniform, am I right? Seven, I need one more favor from you. I need you to hide my son. Okay. So we hide him in plain sight by giving him a uniform and having him walk around. Even though, like 3 episodes ago, Shaw was able to call up pictures of Jack Crusher with his face from Federation logs. They have a chart on him. They got a chart on Jack. Okay? They know his face. You can't hide him in a uniform. Did anyone notice that? You better believe the crew from the Intrepid coming over, looking specifically for Jack Crusher, would know what he looks like. You can't hide him in a uniform. And indeed, they do find him even with the uniform. I was a little bit skeptical. If the Intrepid crew were thorough, and we're going to assume their crew is the changelings, they're going to have that whole ship swept. They are going to find Jack. Indeed they did, and indeed the uniform did nothing. So good job, Seven, good job, Picard, for hiding someone in plain sight. And it's not just someone, it's Picard's son, who we're supposed to care about. And I do care about. I think they're doing a good job endearing him to me. In the beginning, he was a swashbuckling, larger-than-life tough guy, and now we kind of subverted that. We're seeing the other side of his arc. We're seeing his dark days. And it's kind of compelling to me. We're seeing him weak. Jack Crusher is weak now. He's become a child. He's actually growing from an independent adult into Picard and Beverly's son, which is actually compelling to me. I actually think this is kind of interesting, showing him weak now, so he can triumph later. This is pretty good. Wesley, this is not. This is Jack Crusher. He's having visions. You see, he's wandering around the ship, lifeless, listless, and looking like he doesn't know where he's going, looking very suspicious, having horrific visions of killing people. He should probably just confine himself to quarters, or the brig, or something. Beam him into a compartment, beam him into a Jeffries tube, just leave him there. I'd request that if I were him, because I'm pretty scared. I'm scared of getting caught, and I'm scared of hurting people. And indeed, I do end up hurting people. Jack Crusher ends up taking out 4 changelings at the same time, hand to hand, and with a phaser. These changelings, is this an evolution? An evolution backwards? We're a lot easier to kill now. I don't know what's going on. Watch Deep Space Nine. Killing a changeling is a momentous occasion when you can actually kill one, because they are strong, they are resilient, they are tough. But I'm waiting for a decent explanation. I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt. These writers are trying now, so I'm going to try to watch. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt now. We got past the 4-episode intro hump, and we're in the full swing of things. Good shooting, son. How do you know they were changelings? I didn't, he says to Beverly. Uh-oh, we just killed these people randomly. I didn't know they were changelings. What happens if you made a mistake? You better go to the brig or something, for your safety and for the safety of everyone else. You didn't know? You just had a vision? And you're telling this to your mother now? Oh my God, talk about sharing your pain. Poor Jack is in dire straits, and so is the crew, because we're on the run from the Intrepid. The Intrepid is now trying to frame us for what happened after Ro tried to go back to the Intrepid on her shuttle, only to have it be destroyed by a bomb. You see, the 2 security officers who she probably trusted before were actually changelings, and they planted a bomb on her shuttle. It blew up and damaged the Intrepid. But we're in the full swing of things now. Ro's dead. Sorry for people who liked Ro. I'm sorry for people who were invested in that character. I wasn't really, but I feel for people who didn't want to see that happen. Continuing the long tradition of killing classic characters like Icheb, Maddox, Q, for that matter, and now Ro Laren. I'm sorry about that. It's not my fault. I'm sure you can find out the people who are at fault, and you can pester them all you want. I won't be doing that, but the Intrepid is now after the Titan, and the Titan is now a fugitive ship, officially. Who's chasing us? And in the second cringe line of this episode, I believe Riker says, everyone. Bum, 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 bum. There's your trailer line written into the show just for a trailer. Oh, come on, guys. Come on. Come on. Who's chasing us? Everyone. We're on the run. All of Starfleet's against us. Just like happened 4 or 5 times in the past few seasons of New Trek. Whatever. Just like happened in Deep Space Nine. We're just recycling it again, except it's a changeling. We're literally recycling it. It's the changelings again. They could be anywhere. Oh no. Hopefully this is just a middle arc. The same way the first 4 episodes were their own arc. And this arc will kind of resolve itself in an interesting way. However, what's not interesting is our C plot. Or is it our B plot? I don't know. We covered Jack and we covered Picard and the Titan. Now we're back down with Raffi and Worf on Metalis. That's the name of this planet. I think Metalis Prime or Metalis, something like that. God dang. I'm having such a hard time paying attention that I can't remember the names of stuff. Like, I'm just totally blitzed. Like, I'm just out of it, man. Like, Worf and Raffi are training. And I knew as soon as I saw it, they were training so that Raffi could feasibly keep up with Worf, and it wasn't something we would immediately question when it happened, and it did. What are we going to do? First it was the portal weapon, and it was blamed on Toluco, and then Sneed, and then Ricka, and then Kreen. I think his name is Kreen. Am I wrong? The Vulcan guy in this episode. Oh my God! This is discount Trek here. How is this all taking place on the same planet? This never happens. The guys, I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. I just need to go on an adventure once here with these characters. This is insane. The 4 fugitive people that are integral to saving the universe as we know it, I guess, from we need to catch these people so that they don't do it again. It's the same. These 4 people, these however many it is, they're in the same place. Raffi's husband or whatever and her son are on the same planet. It's the same. It's the same thing. This La Serena has been parked for most of this season, as it was the previous season, for that matter. Man, the La Serena, I hate the ship, but I feel bad for it too. I hope it gets an honorable send-off in some way, because this is ridiculous. Kreen facilitated something with Sneed, and he broke into the Daystrom station to steal the portal weapon, and also something else that we don't know about that we're assuming the portal weapon was stolen as a distraction, by the way. I think we're still assuming that. We don't really know. But we go down to confront Kreen, who has the upper hand. We think Kreen has it, and then no, I assure you Worf and Raffi does. And then, oh wait, no, we don't, because Kreen noticed the mobile holo emitter, which I noticed immediately on Raffi's arm. I was like, what is that? Oh, she's doing an EMH job here. It's just a mobile emitter. Kreen obviously notices that, shoots it. It's a hologram. And the real Raffi is up there with a sniper rifle somewhere. But actually, they're one of their own guys, has a gun right to her head. Haha, what now? The tides have turned. The tables have turned, I should say. Star Trek TOS Amok Time, I believe it was called. Fight to the death. We throw these knives out. What are we going to do? Who's going to win? Worf. We're going to force Raffi and Worf to fight to the death for the entertainment of Kreen. Worf is obviously going to win, but no! Worf loses to Raffi somehow. Hopefully a few days of training makes that believable. Didn't really for me. But we learn that Worf, rather, I don't know, is this honorable to pretend to be dead? Worf was only pretending to be dead, guys. Good thing. I mean, I didn't believe Worf was dead for a second. Not 1 second did I believe Worf lost here. But Raffi apparently killed him. Oh, don't worry, I was using the Kalis heart slowing meditation technique to slow down my heart rate, so it looked like I was dead. I don't know if Worf would do that. I know that it's a misconception that Klingons are all rah-rah, let's go all the time. There's meditation involved. They do like yoga, slow stuff too. So I wasn't that upset by it, but it was just something that was just kind of silly. I don't know. It was all, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just going to call it a 0. I'm just going to call it a flat line. Like, it's not good or bad to me. It's just kind of a thing. I don't know. Your mileage may vary. However, when Worf was introduced in this episode, we saw him practicing with Raffi. They were fighting, and then there was a moment where Worf's fighting style changed to this new style, and the music changed to the Klingon theme from the motion picture, which has evolved into Worf's theme. Chef's kiss again. Music on point this episode. Worf's theme. Classic Star Trek themes here and there. Peppered in at just the right moments. Very cool. Klingons seldom disappoint. And he has a knife to Kreen's neck as he has come back to life from his breathing technique, heart rate changing technique. I don't know. I'm not really into that kind of Klingon stuff. I'm not really a martial artist in that way. But Worf has pretended to be dead and has used it to get the better of Kreen. The Vulcan crime lord, which we have seen before. Vulcans have been involved in crime. Sometimes crime can be logical. It can also be bad. Logical things can be bad, and Kreen is bad. How did you get into the Daystrom Station, I should say? Oh, they use an AI thing that is sometimes illogical. I can see bad writing coming from the future. I can see bad ideas bubbling up. Illogical AI, something dumb's going to happen when we get there. That's beside the point. I brokered for a device that exploited that and let me into the Daystrom Station. You're going to tell us where that is. That would be logical. So I guess Worf and Raffi got their guy and they got the tool they need to break into Daystrom. Remember that Ro Laren was Worf's handler, and Ro gave her earring to Picard, and it's another Hellbird. At the very beginning, Beverly said Hellbird on a whim that Riker would know what that meant, because when Hellbird was believe it, guys, Hellbird was on the Enterprise during Best of Both Worlds. Just believe it, okay? A virus that was affecting the Enterprise's computers. Only Riker would know that it was Hellbird. So telling Picard that, you're just hoping that Riker comes as a package deal with Picard, and he often does, would know what that means. Here, Ro gave Picard her earring, hoping that Riker would come as a package deal, I guess, with Picard, because Ro didn't say anything. Ro didn't say, here, this is a data chip. She just said, here you go. I don't know, keep it. And then Riker, again, like with Hellbird, discovered that it's actually a secret data thing. So it's derivative again. We're stealing from ourselves. This episode is low-key super derivative, and you think about it. B-plot. Who cares? Raffi, Worf, it's the same thing again. A-plot. Oh no, there's changelings everywhere. They could be anyone or anything. Like I wrote this plot when I was 10. And it just happens to work out that Jack Crusher is a secret kung fu master, just like in Picard season 1 when Daj turns out to she can activate her android programming to turn into a martial arts master and save the day when she puts a hood on her head to mask the fact that it's the stunt actor. Yeah, I'm a little bit tired of Kung Fu Trek. It's just so base to me. It's just not interesting. Does anyone like that? Anyone watching this review honestly enjoy spontaneous out of nowhere Kung Fu action Star Trek? It's been around since 2009, you could say. Without delving really deep into old Trek and getting splitting hairs, in the modern sense, it's been around since the 2000s Star Trek, I guess you could say. I don't know, I just never really loved it. It's by the numbers. What if Jack could secretly just kill all these changelings just by being such a good martial artist? On a whim, out of nowhere. People being a sleeper cell, having a secret thing inside them that makes them a secret superhero. It's as old as dinosaur bones, and I'm tired of it. So far, this has been the worst episode for me. It's exciting, but derivative. Like I said, it's easy to be exciting, but it's hard to be original. Being original isn't absolutely everything, but it's good when you're not stealing from yourself and stealing from everything else. This is just, we're putting old Star Trek stuff from the microwave and trying to give it to you like it's fresh and new. And admittedly, it tastes a lot better than it used to in season 1 and 2 of Picard. It tastes a lot better. I think we got some seasoning on it, and that seasoning is our better writing, our better characters, and the Titan, right? But you can't hide it from me. It's still the same old meal. Visually, intrepid, ugly, but cool shots. The scenes with the Titan and Intrepid in the same frame were properly lit. These ships look bright. It looked like something from Star Trek. Pretty good. But it's totally ruined by being back in the same planet with Raffi and Worf. Groaner. Groan zone. So visually, we're just hitting baseline. Thematically, I really had to dig. I had to watch this 3 times and really, really think about it. What the theme of this episode was. All I could find was people sharing their pain. As Cybok said, Jack Crusher has to admit to Beverly that he's having creepy visions, because this is some kind of modern Trek thing where everybody has visions. He has to admit it to Beverly. And then Ro and Picard have to admit that they broke each other's hearts. See, we're sharing our pain to get at some underlying truth. Is that a theme? I don't know. But I really had to look. If you got something better, you tell me. Depending on your comments, you may actually win me over and make me think differently of this episode, as did somebody with the last episode. I now, based on some of the comments and have rethinking a few things, I'm happier with episode 4 than I was when I originally reviewed it. I like it a little bit more now than I originally did. Just based on thinking, letting it simmer, letting it marinate, and the comments. So comments aren't useless. You can influence people. A review that I post is a starting point, not really the end point. It's the enzyme that facilitates the growth of the discussion. We'll put it that way. Audio-wise, very good. Cool use of Worf's theme, that being the Klingon theme. All kinds of classic Star Trek motifs here and there. Very good. So visually we're losing. Thematically we're just barely breaking even. And musically we're doing okay. Plot-wise, it does move the plot forward. We do touch base with Ro. The Titan's position in this season is now set in stone. Our position is now that we are on the run and we are all fugitives, and Starfleet is compromised. You don't have to like the plot. I didn't love the plot, but it did move it forward. This episode isn't useless. So we're winning on plot and music, essentially. And unfortunately, that doesn't a perfect episode make. It doesn't even really a good episode make. For me, unfortunately, this is my least favorite episode so far. It's still miles better than anything we've seen in the first 2 seasons, in most cases, so I'm going to have to give this episode a 4.5. I feel a little bit worse after having watched it. I feel a little bit bad for people who liked Ro and were invested in that character, and now she's dead. You know, it could have been a lot worse. You know, her death, it felt meaningful. Her death, it was tasteful to me. You may think differently. But as far as all that goes, that was Star Trek Picard Season 3, Episode 5, Imposters. I'm not an imposter. You can believe me. Although I can't do the blood check now, because we don't know if that works. So you're just going to have to ask me a question in the comments that only I would know the answer to, right? I'm Lieutenant Mark. Believe me. And I'll see you guys when next I see you. So long.